Hi, I'm Dr. Baxter Montgomery. I'm a cardiologist and cardiac electrophysiologist here in Houston, Texas. 13 years ago, we started integrating our clinical treatment with plant-based nutrition. So the heart here is in congestive heart failure, beating around 20 to 24%. Here it's beating about 50% after being on a plant-based diet for 78 days, much improved. Someone in her condition may have needed, surgery, could have needed a bypass surgery, she may have needed a defibrillator. She may have even, been placed on the heart transplant list. But instead of that, with plant-based nutrition, the heart improved significantly. And these are the types of findings we see on a regular basis. It's important for individuals to know that, despite how sick you are, we've seen individuals who are very ill. In fact, I've treated 2 different patients who were in the hospital on life support. One person on life support, we fed her green food through her PEG tube, and I detoxed her in the hospital, and she eventually walked out. So don't give up. We haven't gotten into the most fundamental aspect of our health, which is how we take care of the human frame. And it's as simple as plant-based food, fresh air, sunshine, and water. So there's a huge obsession with protein, and a lot of this has to do with the education of the nutrition and medical community, or perhaps miseducation, if you will, and protein is emphasized. The Western society, as with other societies, animal protein is a major component of what people eat. When I was growing up, you didn't have a meal if there was not, dead animal flesh on the table. Animal protein can trigger inflammation. It has adverse effects on the kidney. It can have adverse effects on the blood vessels, adverse effects on the heart. You get more than enough protein from plant-based foods. The most important nutrient, in my opinion, is water. The healthy human body in its healthy state is about 70-75% water. I'll pose a question. I say, well, if you were, left on an island and deserted for just, let's say 25 days, you can have 25 days worth of baked chicken, or you have 25 days of water. You can't have both, one or the other. And almost invariably, people choose the water because they know that they can't survive 25 days without water. As much as we emphasize eating the proper food, which starts and ends with a plant-based diet, it's also important to get fresh air and sunshine on a regular basis. So at least a couple of hours. Man-made rainbows. Oh wow. Another patient who's currently in her mid-90s came to see us at the age of 89, and at that time she was taking about 22 medications, including about 40 units of insulin twice a day. And she'd been on insulin for 40 years. We put her on a raw detox, and we got off the insulin within a couple of days of her being on a raw detox. She's down to taking no medication the last I've seen, and she hardly has to come and see us as a patient. She's in her mid-90s now. I came into this arena as a traditional doctor, doing procedures and putting them on the optimal medications. However, when I made this discovery for my own health and then subsequently for my patients, I made a major change. As far as I know, we're the only facility in the United States that has an on-site plant-based restaurant that integrates it all in one. If I'm a physician who likes steak and eggs, it would be very difficult for me to counsel and aggressively counsel a patient away from eating these foods. This is our commercial kitchen, our restaurant, and the medical facility of the future will have a designated restaurant kitchen that functions not only from a culinary standpoint, but also from a scientific standpoint. We see individuals in severe congestive heart failure, which is often thought of as a death sentence. But when they make fundamental changes in the way they eat, they go from a death sentence to a life sentence. And that's an important differential.
I'm Patricia Wiggins, and this is my husband, Carl. He's Dr. Montgomery's patient. In this 3-week time, he's eliminated about 40 pounds of fluid from his body, and his mental clarity is much better, and he's now walking without his cane. When we came in, he could barely walk with the cane, and he had to hold on to me or to the wall or something to steady himself.
So what you can see here is a model of an artery, and there's several slices here. And when someone consumes a diet high in saturated fat, And saturated fat, by the way, is code word for animal protein fat. If you then start to look anywhere an artery has this amount of disease, you're compromising blood flow to that organ. And if a thin cord ruptures, that's what leads to a heart attack. And so this predisposed to heart disease. This is the type of lesion that would be considered for a stent placement or for bypass surgery. However, you can reverse this type of disease with optimal plant-based nutrition. It was that severe.
He wanted to make food our medicine and not pharmaceuticals. The added bonus is the fact that he is an MD, he is a cardiologist, he does know that part of medicine, and he's not against it if it's needed.
So if you were to look at all of the healthcare facilities here, all the hospitals, all the emergency rooms in this expansive medical center, and we were to walk around and search for one patient who was suffering from protein deficiency, we'd be challenged to find one. In regards to the prevalence of heart disease among different ethnic groups, the CDC clearly shows that African American women have the most heart disease in terms of prevalence and morbidity and mortality from heart disease. Next to them would be African American men. More women die from heart disease than men in general, and then more African American women die from heart disease than any other race, gender segment that we know of. Availability, convenience, these are all important things that I find, and I think it's going to make a difference the more we make the food available. People do not realize how delicious plant food is. At the end of the day, it's going to be the food that makes the difference. I have a lot of friends who are ethical vegans, and I applaud you. When I came into eating plant-based, I wasn't aware of the horrors that happen to animals, and I think there's more messaging needs to come about with that. The other aspect of being ethical vegans is that we have to look at our own bodies, and we have to be ethical to ourselves first and foremost, because if we're not healthy, then we can't be a benefit to others, animals, etc. So I often tell my patients that the number one animal you want to be ethical to is yourself. So foods that are minimally processed, raw, you want a lot of live foods that has the water content is maintained. These are going to be some of the most healthy foods, and if it is cooked, you want to either dehydrate it at relatively low temperatures, boil or steam it. And these are some simple approaches that individuals can take to consume a diet that's not only healthy for the environment as a whole, but also healthy for your local environment, which is your body. If we can fundamentally change the way we eat, we can get rid of the need for so much expense and so much time and effort toward helping people get better, or I should say, helping people live with their illnesses. We can just simply change what they eat, we can help them reverse their conditions and live a healthier life.